Hello and welcome everyone to the Goodyear Thunderdome at Melbourne's Calder Park Raceway for the first round of the 1999-2000 Australian Super Speedway Championships. I'm Gerald McDornan and it's great to have your company for what should be a fabulous event. The highlight of tonight's racing, of course, is going to be the Auscars and NASCARs. 220 plus kilometre per hour action around this tight 1.8 kilometre banked tri-oval. Joining me for tonight's action is Phil Brannigan. And Phil, the racing should be fast and spectacular like always.
It should be, Gerald, and there's been a shock in qualifying in NASCAR. 3 Fords have taken the top 3 positions on the grid, so 3-time champion Kim Jane could be in for a big night if he wants to win his 4th title.
And of course we're going to see the debut of Neville Lance and the new Ford Taurus.
Yeah, it threatens a lot. This is the car that has been very successful in the USA. First time out in Australia. Let's see how it goes.
10 laps around the 1.8 kilometre tri-oval here at Calder Park Raceway in Melbourne for the NASCARs, and it is a reverse grid with George Elliott and Mark Harrison leading off the front row. Behind them, Stocker and Middleton, Mediki and Abel Nika. And then we have Terry Wyhoon back there in the field. And, of course, our last race winner in the number 14 Ford Taurus, the undercoat grey one. That's Neville Lance. This is going to be a great race. I'm Gerald McDornan, with me Phil Brannigan. Phil, pace car's going off. Green flag is at the ready. We're about to get underway.
And Lance is going to be making another one of those strong restarts. I can just feel it. Here we go, the green flag waves and away goes the car of Elliott, the FAI machine. Down the inside, makes a great start. Harrison moves into 2nd place.
Watch for the charge from the fast guys at the back of the field. The 25 car of Terry Wyhoon trying to come through already, but George Elliott, the Lockheed's Hotel FAI Insurance Chef Monte Carlo, has got out to a 5 to 10 car length lead. Now, Elliott was going strong in that first race. Unfortunately, he had mechanical problems and had to come into the pit. He's fixed them, and look at that 55 go.
Well and truly, he is out to about 10 car lengths at the moment. Wyhoon has just stormed into
second place. There we go. Mediki's gone around. He's backed it in. And we are under yellow. Let's hope he can get that fixed for the 60-lap final here tonight at the Goodyear Thunderdome with George Elliott. What a great start. Let's have a look at a replay. And Mediki, unfortunately, is into the concrete wall. Just look at it. The car, it was loose coming into turn number 2. Around the back went, backed in, and I'll tell you what, one of our cameramen there, he had a good look. And
so did Gene Cook, who just scraped through there in the Shell Helix car number 17, the Ford T-Bird.
Lights are out on the pace car here at the Goodyear Thunderdome, and we've got George Elliott out in front. Andrew Mediki's car has been cleared off the racetrack, the 85 White Line Transport Caterpillar. Chef Monte Carlo, unfortunately, looked at fairly sad state. We don't know if he will be able to come back out for the 60-lap final tonight. Anyway, pace car coming around turn number 4 now. It will pull off. George Elliott currently leading with the FAI Transport. Lockheed's Hotel Chef Monte Carlo, the 55 Chevy. Pedal to the metal, takes the green flag and leads off on the 7th lap. 6 laps down. And 3 remaining in this 10-lapper reverse final. Kim Jane now on the back of Terry Wyhoon. Wyhoon's Ford Thunderbird goes into the lead for the first time this evening. Our race 1 winner, Neville Lance, now currently in 3rd, right on the tail. Now back to 4th with Jane in 3rd on the tail of Elliott.
And aren't they playing for keeps, because Terry just took the line away from George Elliott, and Kim Jane has got Neville Lance crawling all over the back of him as they go off to start lap number 8 of 10. So the front 4 cars, 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that Wyhoon. Elliott runs a little wide, and Jane is now putting in the big ones in the Repco Chevy Monte Carlo. The 3-time and defending champion almost touches. And look at Terry Wyhoon come from nowhere to take over 3rd place.
Lance just clipped Elliott on the way through. It was Wyhoon out in front. Unbelievable. I tell you what, Phil, lucky Lance has got undercoat grey on that car, because it has got some black there. George Elliott's gone from 1st to 4th. The sparks starting to show under the lights here at the Goodyear Thunderdome, but Terry Wyhoon out in front at the moment. This would be his 2nd race win if he could hold off.
Kim Jane, who was really looking very strong. While Lance is taking that high line. The Taurus looks very comfortable up there, right on the back of Jane. They come across the line to get the sign from the starter. They've completed 9. They didn't get the white flag that time through. So are they on their last lap?
Yeah, white flag has waved, in fact, and Waihoon gets the car out of turn 2. The back end skipped out. He kept it all in. And now into 3. Look at that. Jane looking down the inside, but the 25 Lubrimax VIP Fast Track Ford Thunderbird looks as though it's going to come across the line. A winner. No, Kim Jane says the Repco car will get there first. And the 27 goes back to the top. No, the computer says most definitely Terry Waihoon has taken the win. What a great win. In fact, 0.03 of a second separated those two. Kim Jane, according to our computer, has finished second. Let's go through the top 10. It's Waihoon, Jane, Elliott, Lance, Cook, Harrison, Abel Nika, Ken James, Bob Middleton and Paul Stocker. Too far away from a start here at the Goodyear Thunderdome in the 1999-2000 Oscar Championship Series. As we said, it is the second round of the series, and we're getting very close to a start. Lights are out on the pace car. Lee Watkins will control. There's the pace car. The Ford Falcon XR8 pulls off into pit lane, and we are now under the starter's orders. It's John Mostini has the green flag at the ready. Pedal to the metal goes as the green flag waves at the Goodyear Thunderdome, and Lee Watkins got a great start away in the 47 Red Falcon. Matty White just sticking in right behind him, all nice and easy. Oh, Spears has had contact with Gillespie going into turn number 1. It's very early in the season to be doing that, Phil.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Yeah, Daryl Spears didn't see him. He was down the right-hand side there. Didn't give him the opportunity to look at the Falcon. Hey, everyone came out in one piece, so thank goodness for that. But we lived to race another day, and first lap, they're right into it.
Watkins really puts the pedal down in that Ford Falcon. A dominant car last season at the Goodyear Thunderdome, and he is hoping to double up as an Oscar champion. Has only ever been done in the past by Brad Jones. Brad, in fact, won 5 Oscar championships in a row, was so dominant in the early 90s. Lee Watkins hoping to emulate the feats of Jones, which some people think will never, ever be done.
Well, it's hard to say. There's a long way to go. Hey, we've got a new millennium or a new century, or, well, we've got a new year to worry about. Let's go that way. But Watkins, hasn't that red Ford got some horsepower? But Matthew White this weekend saying, I'm very happy with the setup of the car. I don't have the grunt of the Fords. That's okay. But he's got the handling, and he's very happy with the package. That's the main thing you want here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. You want good suspension. You want the car to work nicely.
And the B&A Automotive 15 Falcon has gone around. That is Mark Gillespie, the XF Falcon. No caution on the racetrack. So Gillespie actually got off, and it's actually the 115 Falcon, one of the sportsman entries, as Lee Watkins again leads across the start-finish line with Matty White right on the tail. 30 laps around the Goodyear Thunderdome for this first race here for the 99-2000 season. Let's go to a replay of Mark Gillespie actually spinning around in the 115 Sportsman Falcon. We should have it very shortly. There is Watkins on screen at the moment, and still under green here at the Goodyear Thunderdome.
And haven't these two pulled out a gigantic gap between themselves and the opposition? They have just run away. 30-lap race, of course, so there's a long way to go in this race, a long way to go for the championship season. And pretty soon, G-Mac, they're going to be getting into the tail enders, because let's not forget, the cars with 3 digits are the cars of the sportsmen.
Let's go and have a look at the replay of Gillespie there. Boy, we had nearly problems with Chris Robinson. Avoided Gillespie at the last possible moment. A fantastic job of driving another one of those Sportsman XF Falcons, avoiding what could have been a horrendous accident. So well done to those guys. Thankfully, both are underway. Gillespie is in the pit area at the moment, having the tyres changed on his Falcon. But talk about Falcons, Lee Watkins there is right out in front. Matty White sitting on the tail, very critical last season, Phil, about the performance of those Falcons and saying how much power they actually have. We're looking back through the field. That lead car there is Daryl Spears, the 31 Holden Commodore. Support from PPG Paint. Spears, a long-time campaigner here at the Thunderdome, and starting to move himself up the field.
And speaking of which, Andrew Gillespie, the man pressuring him in the 09 Ford Falcon. Speaking of moving up, he's a graduate from Sportsman Racing. So it's good to see another young driver getting into the Oscar ranks and immediately making an impression.
Matty White all over the back of Watkins' car there. There's Spears and also the 09 car, Andrew Gillespie, currently in 4th spot. Watkins taking the Falcon up a little bit high that time out of 3 and 4. Here's Spears. Look at the push on that car. It goes up close to the wall. He's had many starts over the years at the Goodyear Thunderdome.
Let's not forget Daryl Spears ran in the first round of the Oscar Championship, which was held at Mount Panorama in October. In trying conditions. God, it was wet. It wasn't trying to rain. It was bucketing down.
Oh, Nigel Benson, that time coming out of turn number 2, just behind these two guys, had his 04 car pretty much sideways going up out of the turn. And Spears is starting to get a whole lot of push in his car. The tail starting to come around, a little bit of opposite lock, allowing Gillespie a bit of an opportunity to have a look. There is a long way to go. We're on lap number 9 of 30 for this Oscar Sportsman Combined Championship race. The 78 car is in the pits there. That's Trevor Nucky, the XF Falcon, one of the Sportsman entries, is in all sorts of problems there, and the crew are looking under the bonnet. Nucky there, obviously a very disappointed driver at this point in time to start the season off here at the Thunderdome in the pits after 7 or 8 laps.
Well, keep an eye on Spears' car this time around because the car is not working that well. As you said before, a couple of laps ago, he had push. That was understeer, the car trying to throw the front end of the car into the wall. That's wearing out the front tyres. Now, he's starting to drive around that a little bit, Gerald, so he's starting to boot the car in the middle of the corners to bring the rear around. That's going to hurt the rear tyres. And let's not forget these guys not on racing tyres. They're on buffed Goodyear road tyres.
Go through the top 6. Watkins, White, Spears, Gillespie, Benson and Crawford. We're going to a break. We'll be back right after this. Continues at the Goodyear Thunderdome as Andrew Gillespie just gets under the underside of Daryl Spears, the 31 PPG Commodore, starting to slow down a little bit. Spears, of course, has been out of control or having a lot of push in the car. Gillespie has gone by, and now Nigel Benson right on the tail of the 31. Benson from South Australia, a winner on the short track half-mile flat oval over there at Adelaide International Raceway, now starting to push Spears, and you can see as the car came out of turn number 4 that time, Phil Brannigan, a little bit loose in the tail was Daryl Spears.
It looks like the right rear was lifting up. It actually pushed the left front down into the banking, and I think he dragged his front spoiler on the left-hand side, actually hit the deck and went through there, and that was not a good way to go because he might lose a fair bit of downforce. Matthew White starting to put the big ones in for the battle for the lead, and he has got through on Lee Watkins. So the Commodore gets through. Is this the part of the race that is going to suit the Commodore? Yes, the Ford's got more horsepower. We've already talked about that, but Commodore maybe with a better overall package. And in the second half of the race, Gerald, maybe Matthew White is the confident man.
Well, Matthew White won the last event here at the Goodyear Thunderdome at the end of the 98-99 season. Now the Mobil 1 PPG Commodore of Matthew White Racing is in the lead. Jerry Rally on screen at the moment, one of the Sportsman Falcon entries, one of the XF models, mid to late 80s version, also with the support of PPG paints. Rally from Vermont in Victoria, starting to come under pressure from some of the faster Oscar races, but there is Matty White out in front in the 28 Holden Commodore, and on the tail of him, the reigning Oscar champion, the 47 Falcon, EL Mark II Falcon of Lee Watkins from Bendigo in Victoria. Currently the cars are lapping in the low 31 second range. Phil Brannigan, that is record pace, 31.26 last time for Matty White, 31.38 for Lee Watkins as they're passing Eddie Woods across the start-finish line to signal the end of lap number 13.
They are really on it at the moment. If you get into the 31s in an Oscar, let's not forget when we were here like 5 or 6 years ago, if you were going 33s in an Oscar, you were going really quick. Now 31.2s and 31.3s for our race leaders. So they are absolutely perfect, and it's also a good indicator, Gerald, that there's cool air out there. The engines are making plenty of horsepower, and obviously the track's fairly fast.
We should mention that these engines in the Oz cars are carburetted. They're not fuel injection like the normal cars you drive on the roads nowadays. They're carburetted. They rely very much on air conditions, the atmosphere, starting to cloud over here at the Goodyear Thunderdome as Matty White slides it out of turn number 2. And that cooler air produced by what could be rain makes all of a sudden more power. There's still warmth in the racetrack as well that allows the cars to grip a whole lot better. So it's probably the optimum conditions at the moment. Last time by again, both of those guys 31.2 second laps. Very fast indeed. And I'll tell you how quick Matty White has done 2 laps within 0.06 of a second. There's Jerry Raleigh on screen at the moment in the number 2 Sportsman Falcon, and right on the bumper bar of him is the 89 car. That's John Umsayer, the VL Holden Commodore. These 2 guys are part of the Sportsman category, and Raleigh with support of Kerry Pennells in Vermont in Victoria.
And these 2 cars looking like they shared the same paint pots when they were leaving the paint shop, probably there in Vermont, Victoria, because they're both running sort of yellow and green and red and blue paint schemes. So there's a little bit of everything going on there. Oh, a bit of a moment there. Raleigh had it all going around and made another good catch. Again, that's indicative of the condition of the track, because if the car's a little taily and the track's a little greasy.
Whoa, boy, we've got a big one. Leanne Ross has lost control. The number 11 right on pit lane, and the 30, Phil Brannigan, has gone in as well. That is Dallas Crane, the CV Senate Holden Commodore. It happened as they came out of turn number 4 onto the main straight near the dogleg. Leanne Ross at the wheel of the number 11 Ford Falcon there, the EF, in an Oz car for the first time this weekend, and she lost it and it tapped into the number 30, the Carmen Motors Holden Commodore. And Crane, a former competitor in the HQ category, had nothing else to do but eat concrete. Let's go to a replay if possible as Crane gets out of the car, and the safety people here at the Goodyear Thunderdome help. There was Ross's problem. She's tapped into Crane and bang, just an absolute huge one. Thankfully, both of the drivers are emerging okay. And we're about to get the racing back underway for the 99-2000 Oscar Championship season. This is round number 2 after that big accident between Leanne Ross and Dallas Crane. We can report that everyone is okay. This will be 20 laps completed as the green flag waves and 10 clear racing laps to go, Phil Brannigan. It certainly has been an eventful race already. But Matty White and Lee Watkins out in front of the field. They've dominated the 20 laps today.
They really have, and they've kind of taken it in terms. Now, will this mean the Falcon is the car on slightly cooler tyres now, which is going to have the edge? We know it's got a straight line speed advantage over the Commodore, but Matty White holds the point at the moment. He's got about 4 car lengths between himself and the defending champion.
Should go through the field. It's White, Watkins, Gillespie, Spears, Benson and Crawford are the top 6 at the moment. Matty White has certainly opened up the 5 or 6 car length lead over Lee Watkins. Maybe Watkins is just sitting back and saying, hey, we've got 10 to go or 9 to go. I'll just bide my time, make sure everything is okay. There again, Matty White is really on a charge. In third there is Gillespie, the 09 car. That's Andrew Gillespie. On the inside, down on the bottom line is Spears in the 31 Commodore. But there goes Matty White, 8 laps remaining, and has got a break over Lee Watkins. Maybe the PPG Mobile 128 Commodore has enough power at the moment to take this race.
It looks like he does. I think he's thinking back to the days when he used to race a NASCAR, which he did a couple of seasons ago. He's certainly driving this thing like a NASCAR. It's going about as fast as a NASCAR at the moment. He's really flying 31.2 that time around. Still, everything not quite up to temperature, so it shows you that Matthew White very, very happy with his race package. And the 28 Maxi Cube Commodore is just screaming away from the field at the moment. He's putting a half a second in that gap every single lap.
White's a versatile driver. Actually, he went up to Bathurst to race in the FAI 1000 Classic and V8 Supercars with the Wins team last November. Did a tremendous job, in fact, and now back to the Thunderdome, where he certainly made a name for himself over the last 5 or 6 years. A former Sportsman champion, stepped up to the Oscar ranks and even went to Bathurst with a NASCAR a couple of years ago, and in fact finished on the podium. White now out to 20 or 30 car lengths over Lee Watkins. Watkins now coming under the pressure of Gillespie, As we go back to the battle for second and third there, Watkins, the reigning champion. There's Spears with Benson right on his tail. And the number 4 car just behind them is Graham Crawford.
And it looks to me like Watkins is in some sort of trouble there, because Gillespie just went zot and went past him. 2 Falcons, so you would expect them to be fairly evenly matched in terms of straight line speed. And Spear almost starting to get hooked up there with Benson.
There goes White. 5 laps remaining around the Goodyear Thunderdome, the 1.8 kilometre tri-oval here at Calder Park Raceway in Melbourne. The 24-degree bank turns in turns at 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And Watkins is in all sorts of troubles now because Spears and also Benson are about to climb all over the back of the 47 Falcon. There's Benson, the 04 Commodore, goes under Spears in turn number 3. Coming around onto the tail now of Watkins. Will he challenge for third position? I think he's certainly going to. And Spears is coming on by as well. Watkins in his all sorts of troubles. He did not want to start his Thunderdome campaign off like this. He is now back in 6th position, and that's not the way he wanted to go. I think he's even going to be in trouble to finish. Look, he's going down the low line there. That red 47 Falcon is struggling now. Benson is in 3rd spot and holding out a podium spot at the moment.
Yeah, bad luck for him, but there's a long way to go in this championship season. 175 points available for the winner. On 6th place at the moment, you'd have to say he's down to 150. So we'll have to wait and see what Lee Watkins can do in later events in the championship season. 1 car not taking any further part in this race to Trevor Nuckley, who's had all sorts of dramas so far in his first outing for the season.
A couple of the Oz cars coming across the sportsman category cars a little bit slower. Here comes Spears down the inside of Benson. A great move that time. Benson's Phantom car couldn't quite hold out. He goes to, doesn't walk, but drives. Oh, Benson just did a hard turn right to try a lower line under Spears. Didn't work that time. 1 lap remaining around the Goodyear Thunderdome. I think we're starting to get the checkered flag at the ready. We are. Matty White's going to go on to a very stunning victory here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. We've got Andrew Gillespie in 2nd. Darryl Spears there on screen in the battle for 3rd, the 31 car, and Benson in 4th. They're coming around turns 3 and 4 for the last time. Matty White crosses the start-finish line. He takes the win in the 28. Then it's Gillespie coming across. Here's the 31. Darryl Spears comes 3rd. Benson in 4th spot. A great job. Crawford in 5th. A fantastic race, and one which provided a number of upsets and a lot of disappointment for the reigning champion, Lee Watkins, who finishes in 9th position, unfortunately, in the pit area. Welcome back to the Goodyear Thunderdome. 60 laps around the 1.8 kilometre bank tri-oval here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. I'm Gerald McDornan. With me is Phil Brannigan. And joining us in commentary for this fantastic final race here for the first round of the 99-2000 NASCAR season is former Winston Cup driver, American legend, Lake Speed. And welcome, Lake, to Calder Park Thunderdome.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a very exciting weekend for me to come down here and see what's going on in Australia.
Well, the green flag is at the ready. Terry Wyhoon is leading off pole. Alongside him, Kim Jane, the 3-time NASCAR champion. The green flag is waving and racing is underway. This is 60 laps around the Thunderdome, and we should mention that there are 2 compulsory pit stops.
And they must be made under green flag conditions, so hopefully everything will stay green and fast, and we'll be able to see those pit stops come into play. Great start from Wyhoon. The T-Bird has bolted away, but already the man on the chase is George Elliott, the 55 FAI Chev Monte Carlo, into 2nd place. So the typical Ford versus Chevrolet battle continues here at the Goodyear Thunderdome.
Lake, Ford versus Chevrolet. It's a huge thing in the United States with Winston Cup racing. 30-odd races on the tour each year, and it doesn't matter wherever you go. The racing is always fast and furious, and you have your Ford fans and your General Motors fans.
And 2 years from now, or 2001, you're adding to the Chrysler people are coming back too. So you don't forget the Pontiacs. You know, they've won a lot of races here towards the end of the season. They really came on strong with Tony Stewart and Bobby Labonte.
Yep. Now, tonight we see the debut in Australia of the Ford Taurus. Now, you yourself, you've driven a Ford Taurus on the Winston Cup Tour as we see Neville Lance in that car come under George Elliott on the back straight. The two have touched. Will they end up in drama? Yes, they have gone off. One each way. Elliott has touched the high side and come down in front, and Lance has gone down low. We are under caution here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. The two running side by side up the back straight. You're probably doing 170 mile an hour, and around the Taurus goes.
Flaps coming up on the Taurus when it's facing the wrong way, of course, designed to drag the car down. Look at the left of screen, the 55 FAR Chevy Monte Carlo.
Oh,
right in the wall. Wasn't that a great escape by Kim Jane?
Well, George Elliott knows that he has to head down to pit lane. The FIA like his hotel. 55 Chev Monte Carlo. Neville Lance is still out onto the track. The crew comes out onto Elliott's car. Going to change some tyres and have a look at. You saw a hole in one of the tyres there.
Yeah,
that was gone.
I was about to say a flat spot. That wasn't a flat spot. That was a hole the size of your fist.
And the crew working hard here. Just 7 guys allowed over the wall. And pit work is a very vital part of NASCAR racing. Terry Wyhoon leading off with the 25 VIP home care for Thunderbird into turn 1 and 2, taking a very nice line. Kim Jane on his tail. Here comes Gene Cook, winner of the last round of last season's NASCAR Championship. The 41 Ford Thunderbird just heads on by and goes into second spot. So we've got Ford Thunderbirds at 1-2 with the Chev Monte Carlo in third. And then sitting back in fourth spot, Eddie Abel-Nika. Now, Abel-Nika is running one of the older Oldsmobiles, Lake, which haven't been seen on the Winston Cup Tour now for a number of years, the Olds Cutlass.
Quite a few years now. The manufacturers want to keep their current cars out on the racetrack. When Oldsmobile pulled out of racing, obviously they quit supplying the parts and the pieces and everything. So it's really difficult to campaign a car that you can't get all the parts for that you need.
Kim Jane's a 3-time Australian NASCAR racer, but Jane, Wyhoon, and also Neville Lance Lake have just come off the Japan round of the Winston West Tour. Now, Winston West is a very competitive series as well.
Yeah, all the racing series right now, all the stock car racing series are getting more and more competitive because there's better quality equipment being available to anybody that wants to buy. And it makes for a more level playing field and better racing.
Now, in the 1999 season, it was something like 38 drivers won in excess of $1 million US in prize money on the tour.
That's right. And what's really interesting is with the new television package that just was put together just recently in the last few months, that dollar figure is going to quadruple in 2001.
Fantastic. Phil Brannigan and myself, we might just pop over for a couple of races.
Yeah, but they wouldn't understand us because us Australians, we talk funny.
There you go.
Order at the moment, Wyhoon from Cook. Kim Jane is in third place. Eddie Abel-Nika. Mark Harrison is in fifth place. Ken James in the 01 Revell machine rounds out the top 6. Come back to us soon at the Goodyear Thunderdome.
Looks exciting, doesn't it? Well, how would you like to buckle up and go for a spin with the man himself, Marshall Brewer? Thanks to Fast Track Racing, not 1 but 5 people will have the chance to win this ride of a lifetime. You'll don a helmet and race suit for 6 explosive laps around the Goodyear Thunderdome. And it will all be captured on film, so you won't have to tell your friends, you can show them. All you have to do is get to the phone and dial 1902 554 664. And for just 50 cents, you might be one of 5 lucky guests who'll experience firsthand the thrills of NASCAR racing.
Welcome back to the Goodyear Thunderdome. Terry Wyhoon is currently leading the 60-lap final race of the night here at Calder Park Raceway in Melbourne. The 25 Ford Thunderbird is out in front of Gene Cook and Kim Jane, currently in third spot. There's Eddie Abel-Nika back in fourth in the Melbourne Cheapest Cars Olds Cutlass. Mark Harrison, the Kirkman Transport Pontiac, currently in position number 5. Great job for Mark Harrison, sitting on the tail of Abel-Nika.
2 cars involved in an incident a little earlier back in the race, but down 2 laps. George Elliott in the 55 machine in 11th place and Neville Lance in the Taurus in 12th.
Now, we should say that Ray Evernham has an Australian link. Dick Johnson, one of the great Australian touring car heroes who raced a few races on the Winston Cup Tour in the early 90s, as we see a battle for the lead going on here between two Ford Thunderbirds, one painted up in Dick's very similar colours, the Shell Helix colours. Ray Evernham was Dick Johnson's crew chief on the Winston Cup Tour.
Ray has got a real racing background. He used to drive himself at one time, and he had some injuries that caused him to have to give up his driving career. Then he went in with a vengeance as a crew chief after that and has really come to the front.
And Jeff Gordon, of course, in the Rainbow Warriors. Look at this all-forward battle for the lead. Did we see some contact there? And Gene Cook, the Tasmanian Devil, looking a little bit anxious, gets down the inside of Terry Waihoon going into one, and the Shell Helix 41 car takes over the lead. So we've had a change of position, but still forwards 1-2. Gene Cook now leads from Terry Waihoon.
What you're starting to see now is the chassis setups starting to show themselves on each car. As the newness of the tires wears off, you get to start seeing what kind of car you really have as far as the chassis setup.
Like, we're talking about a lot of motor racing cars. We're talking about 3,600 pounds. Can you feel the fuel load in a car like this?
It's not so much a fuel load specifically, but the cars change as they go through the cycle, as the tires wear down and the temperatures rise up and the air pressures build up, and the fuel load changes too. So there's a lot more going on than just the fuel load changing, but all those things tend to make a car change. It's how well you forecast what's going to happen and make the adjustments to be prepared for that.
Now, on a night like tonight, as well as we see Terry Waihoon coming under the pressure from Kim Jane, the three-time NASCAR champion here in Australia. A night like tonight as well, it's very cool. It's overcast as well. Obviously, those engines are producing a whole lot more horsepower too, and the track conditions have got a lot cooler.
Yeah, and it is, and you know, depending on how well the guys guessed on their setups, the one car there that was leading the race and has fallen back to third now, he had a really good setup for a short run, but his chassis setup doesn't seem to be holding up for the long run. Now, when they make a pit stop, he'll have an opportunity to make some adjustments on that car and still be able to come back and have a shot at winning the race.
So Terry Waihoon with the Fast Track Racing VIP Home Care Lubrimax Ford Thunderbird goes back into position number 3. We see our leader there, the Shell 41 Ford of Gene Cook, the 27 Repco Auto Parts car of Kim Jane, currently in second spot, coming around the outside of Paul Stocker's car. And put in a lap on Stocker, who's back in 9th position. Currently, our leaders are lapping in the 29-second range around the 1.8 kilometre Calder Park Thunderdome, the Goodyear Thunderdome here at Calder Park Raceway in Melbourne. Jane's car stepped out a little bit that time, but it's okay. And the John Sidney Racing Camp looking for their 4th consecutive NASCAR championship in Australia and their 6th total, which would be an amazing achievement.
It would be an amazing achievement. We spoke before about Ray Evernham as being one of the most successful recent crew chiefs in turn.
We should go down to the pit lane, and Gene Cook, our race leader, is actually headed towards pit lane. Sorry, Phil, because the mandatory tyre change is happening right now. 2 tyres minimum must be changed under green, and the Shell Helix Protect Paint 41 Thunderbird is in. The 2 outside tyres are being done. There will be another compulsory tyre or fuel stop later on as well, and Gene Cook has done it right on time. We're looking at Ken James on screen at the moment in the Revell 01 Chev Monte Carlo. Terry Waihoon just looking for the inside line. There it goes, the Lubrimax VIP Fast Track 25 Thunderbird goes through into position number 2 when you're racing Winston Cup Lake at Talladega. An average lap approaching 200 mile per hour when you're in the middle of 40 cars, bumper to bumper. What is that like? That must be an unbelievable thrill.
It's the most intense kind of racing that you can ever do, because you really need to be able to look left, right, front, back all at the same time, because there's just no room for error. Everybody, just you hold your breath. That's all you can do. It's so much of it's out of your control.
And over there, as we see Bob Middleton in the 95 White Line Transport Caterpillar car, currently in position number 7, lapping 2 laps down. A place like Talladega, 2.5 miles or 2 miles around, you don't lift off the throttle.
No, rarely. Only times when the pack gets really bunched up, and because of the draft effect so strong, you may have to actually, you never try to crack the throttle. Sometimes you may put your foot on the brake to slow it down and keep you from running into the guy in front of you. You can't do much bump drafting when you're 3 abreast, about 8 rows deep. It's not a good place to do it.
Dale Earnhardt usually tries to do something like that, though.
Compulsory pit stops between lap 40 and 44. Fuel must be taken for all competitors on the Goodyear Thunderdome. Kim Jane currently leading, a position that he has become accustomed to over the last 3 years. He really likes sitting out in front with the John Sidney Racing Chev Monte Carlo. John Sidney, the guy from Clayton in Victoria, a fantastic race workshop that has built many Australian championship-winning sprint cars. Also, 5 Australian NASCAR championship-winning cars as well. Looking for win number 6. Now, we will now be on lap number 40. We see Terry Wyhoon on screen. Bob Middleton has gone around in the 95 Monte Carlo. The White Line Transport car is in all sorts of troubles, waiting to see if a yellow goes out on the racetrack. We don't think we've got another spinner.
It's Wyhoon.
It's Wyhoon and Abel Nika. Wyhoon has shortened the car. The guy in second spot looks to be out of it. The yellow is on the racetrack. What a sad day for Terry Wyhoon, the VP home care car. I tell you what, they need to get a fair amount of Mr. Sheen out to polish that car up now. Here comes Middleton. Basically, he's just overcooked it. Stock has gone down low. Ken James high. Mark Harrison's also passed Middleton, so everyone's got away unscathed that time. Maybe Middleton's actually probably just dropped the wheel off the high line. But here is Wyhoon and Abel Nika. You see Wyhoon up against the wall, spinning around. We've caught the tail end of that incident, so we really can't find out what has happened.
And that was not good for Wyhoon. He was in second place. He needed a yellow flag.
That is
one.
It is over, I would expect, for Terry Wyhoon. Welcome back to the Goodyear Thunderdome. We're under caution at the moment. Lights out on the pace car. Kim Jane is currently leading. After the restart, or after the caution came out, we went to a commercial break. Terry Wyhoon, unfortunately, very upset at that incident involving him and Eddie Abel Nika, has gone down to the Melbourne Cheapest Cars pit and certainly said some words to Abel Nika's crew. Are not a happy camper at all.
No, I don't think he's going to be heading to Abel Nika's workshop to buy one of Melbourne's cheapest cars. Put it that way. Let's be kind about it. Jane still leads. There goes the green. Ken James has moved up to second place now. The car on the inside there, the double 5 machine of George Elliott, is back in 5th place, but he's a couple of laps down after that incident right at the start of the race. Unfortunate lake speed to see drivers like that. I mean, it was an unfortunate incident, and Terry obviously was pretty upset about things.
Well, you know, the reality of it is none of these guys are going to wreck on purpose.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes to experience and learning when to let guys go and how to be patient and wait till you get your car where it'll do what it'll need to do. Oftentimes when you're lapping traffic, the fast car slips up on the slow car before the guy even knows he's there.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, incidents happen. Nobody wants to wreck, but your feelings are hurt. And you had a great car, and you thought you had a chance to win the race, and all of a sudden you're parked. And you know, emotions happen. Tomorrow, later tonight, you know, the guys should be able to recoup and regroup and realize, hey, wait a minute, you know, you come back to earth.
Oh, that is the car of Gene Cook. That second place man got sideways when he was trying to go around the outside of a lap car, who was George Elliott, coming out of turn number 4 and just maybe touched the wall with a rear spoiler. He's down there on the tri-oval on the grass trying to get the engine running again. He does that. So he will live to fight another day, but boy, that was a close call for the man from Tasmania.
It looks as though no one wants to come in second at the moment.
Again, what I said, it takes a lot of patience. Sometimes you have to wait. You may not be able to pull that pass off right when you want to.
Now, like you said, when we went to the break, you said to us off air as we watch the replay of Gene Cook going around in the 41 Shell Helix 4 Thunderbird. Here we go. Here he comes off 4 and got a little loose. Looks as though he didn't collect that wall, but then went for a ride on the wild side through the grass here. You said off air, you don't win races with wrecked cars.
No, it's something that most every rookie that comes on the Winston Cup circuit goes through.
Kim Jane is heading down on the pit apron towards the pits. Of course, there is this compulsory pit stop. We're actually on lap 49 at the moment. We're going to look down. There's Cook and Harrison. Now, Ken James is currently leading in the Ravel Monte Carlo, and we have got our leaders putting on a dash of fuel.
I'm wondering whether Jane has actually made his stop, and that was him exiting the pits that we saw him in the 27 Repco Chevy Monte Carlo. So that makes the race leader Ken James and Jane out there in second place, and Mark Harrison having a bit of a look at the back of Gene Cook's car. And is this a fight for position? No, Gene has actually lost almost a lap to Harrison. So Harrison is there in third place. So that's an outstanding effort. A guy coming through in an older car. We're used to seeing that here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. And he just seems to be held up a little there by Gene Cook, who's trying to get down on pit road.
Cook trying to get down on the pit apron. He really held up Harrison at that point in time. Harrison, in fact, is in third spot. And Ken James in the 01 Ravel model cars, Ravel Models Chev Monte Carlo. There he is now. He's actually coming into pit lane, the 01 Pro Finish car, and he's coming on for a bit of splash of gas. Here we go. Watch this. A fluid ounce, if anything. You'll see the crew member bounce over the wall, catch can at the ready, bang. That looked as though a splash of gas went in. I tell you what, Lake, if you're thirsty and that was a Coke or something, you wouldn't have quenched it, would
No,
you?
but they went through the motions. That's what's important.
Oh,
You know?
absolutely.
They say everything's got to be plugged in.
The Repco Auto Parts Chev Monte Carlo just ahead there of the 55 FAI Insurance. Lockie Hotel and Casino Chev Monte Carlo. That is George Elliott back in fourth spot. And Mark Harrison in the 19 car is in second spot. Ken James in third.
Yeah, it's been a good comeback for George Elliott, after this incident a little bit earlier in the race. There is Mark Harrison, car number 19. Kirkman Transport Real Steel Fabrications on the car. Not a lot of signage on the bonnet, so I'd suggest that's probably an indication that there's an opportunity there, young Gerald, for a bit of sponsorship, a bit of McDormand money going down there on the Pontiac.
Mate, I wish I had it. I'd probably put it into it too. No doubt about that. And great to see he's got some support there from Kirkman Transport. And Mark Harrison doing a tremendous job. As I said earlier in the telecast, his last race at the Goodyear Thunderdome ended in heartbreak very early in the race. There's Ken James as well in... no, that's Paul Stocker, the similarly painted car. And right on his tail is Diggy Howe. There's our race leader, the 27 Repco Bob Jane T-Mart car of Kim Jane. 58 laps. We're actually on lap 59. The white flag is being ready. And as you said earlier, Phil, win number umpteenth coming up for Kim Jane.
Well, he's had a remarkable career. Ever since he hooked up with John Sydney Racing, he has had the guru talking through all the laps in the headset saying, just do this, just do that. Kim goes, yep. Follows the instructions. They're almost always right. And what a winning record the man from Melbourne is taking into the 1999-2000 championship season.
Heads up the back straight for the last time here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. Kim Jane is heading towards victory lane with the Repco 27 Chevrolet. There's Barry Blake. Don't forget, if you're in Perth, to head to NASCAR Thunder 2000 at Barbagallo in February. But Kim Jane takes the checkered flag. What a fantastic win here. 60 hard-fought laps around the 1.8 kilometre Goodyear Thunderdome. Jane has won yet again ahead of Mark Harrison. Congratulations, Mark. A great job. Ken James files through for position number 3, just ahead of George Elliott and Gene Cook. But Kim Jane, is anyone ever going to beat this man or the might of the John Sydney Racing team? If they win this year, it will be 6 out of the last 7 NASCAR championships in Australia.
It's an extraordinary record, and you've got to remember that Kim Jane has a little advantage. He managed to scrape the rust off when he was in Matagi in November to go over there to race in the final round of the Winston West Championship. Finished 8th in fairly illustrious company, but he's made a running start to the season in 99-2000. He looks pretty cool and collected in the car. Just another day at the office for Kimbo.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed the first round of the Australian Super Speedway Championships from the Goodyear Thunderdome. It's certainly been a lot of fun bringing it to you, but this is just the first in a series of events that we're going to have for you over this summer. So check your local guides for the next round here, and it's sure to be a beauty.
watching.
This has been a Quattro Media production in association with Calder Park Motorsport and Network 10 Australia.